Plants are literally everywhere. They serve lots of functions in terms of ecological balance and economic importance to all of us. They function variously and provide many things that one cannot imagine. They synthesize light and turn it into useful products and give homes to many animals and various organisms. But one can imagine. How did these plants flourish in the first place and where did they come from? I'm your professor for today, Professor Brandon, and we're gonna discuss this topic. As a born curious man of this world, I've always believed in the universe's law of balance, in many aspects that comes with it, in which I call this the Brandonian theory of existence. According to my theory, the existence and development of a new thing cannot be defined when the other one is non-existent. Hence, this gives rise to dichotomous characteristics in order for one to exist. In religious aspect, the yin-yang which speaks of ultimate balance. Scientifically and biologically speaking, we can prove this through statistics and researches such as the nature's way of balancing the right amount of population of both abiotic and biotic materials. Just like less and more does not always define good and sufficient. In Filipinos' way of saying these things, ika nga'y masama ang sobrang dami at sobrang konti. Tama-tama lang dapat. Therefore, I cannot really see any other reason why I won't apply the same concept or the same principle from studying the universe to the specification or specific application of it in biology, which also explains why plants flourish on the lands in the first place. Millions of years ago, during the primeval planet Earth, the atmosphere has reached solution of organic compounds which are perfect conditions for the development of life. With the right number of amino acids, which speaks of balance, it later then developed to become the RNA sequences which has the ability to replicate itself. Life has always been about replication, multiplication, and evolution. In order for one to thrive and course through life, or in scientifically speaking, we term this as the Biogenesis Theory, which states that life can only come from life. When these RNAs develop to become the prokaryotic organisms, they have to deal with what they got. So they used up the present materials they have in the environment, such as the sulfuric and greenhouse gases present in the atmosphere. Then they developed to become the eukaryotic organisms, capable of much better tasks and processes. So they've developed photosynthesis and produced water that are believed to be the main reason why we have such huge amount of water in these planets, due to these microorganisms and byproducts they've produced. Then later on become earlier forms of simpler life or organisms such as the blue-green algae or the cyanobacteria. Scientifically speaking, we call this the Endosymbiosis Theory, which states that the evolution of photosynthetic eukaryotic cells came from a bigger heterotrophic prokaryotic cell that engulfed bacterial cell, which is the source for mitochondria, and cyanobacteria, which is the source of chloroplast, and developed symbiosis among the host and the engulfed cell. Hence, the balance of two organisms in order to thrive as one. The cyanobacteria accounts for a huge portion of the present oxygen in the planet today, and believed to evolve into higher forms of life, like the land plants we enjoy at this moment, from bryophytes to angiosperms. I believe that they ventured into the soil and into the lands due to the driving force of survival, in which we call this evolution, and the pattern of life in finding ways to better survive and adapt to changes. As more organisms are present, this gives rise to competition. That's why these simpler organisms need to find better resources and adapt for the continuation of their species. Following this pattern, the land holds various resources that can be utilized better by these organisms. Therefore, plants came to the land because of adaptation and evolution for the species to survive, and have developed interactions and relationships between animals that preserves the nature's way of balancing things, which is further supported by the four main theories or pillars of biology, namely the cell theory, evolution, homeostasis, and genetics, in which they speak of one principle, the continuation of life and adaptation to changes in order to thrive and survive. If we follow my principle, life would cease to exist if it did not learn to adapt in the first place. Hence, life literally came from the sea, and we are products of millions of years of evolution and nature's way of balancing things, which also explains why plants came onto the land. Therefore, in simpler terms, the Brandonian theory of existence emphasizes the existence of all things through adaptation and presence of its opposites and needs to achieve balance among all things. Once again, this is your host and professor, Professor Brandon. See you in the next vlog or in the next lesson. Bye!